I am Calcatus of Borg. Resistance is futile. This story shall rip off an episode or two of Starship Locations. Okay, yes, Vox, the latest episode of Star Trek Picard. We have it is very odd, Captain. We have anyway. We have a very odd episode. It is very odd, Jordy. Yes. Of course, the part of him that's Lal is all like, Captain. Not bad. Exactly. But yes, so in this one, they do the bait and switch thing, kind of like they did, and they can still do it again with another mystery box bait and switch thing. The red herring in the beginning, spoilery, is actually not a red herring. It's a mystery box instead, because Abrams is a little bit involved, just a little bit. It isn't the bluegills after all. But it is still silly Trek. We did a spoof of the Borg, the Best of Both Worlds, called The Board. And in it, the gag was the Enterprise was taken over by the Borg. And it was the kids who saved the ship after they were assimilated, so the adults kind of saved the ship. And yeah, it never got finished. There were like scenes from it that were used later in Starcrackers to augment some scenes that weren't filmed properly, to cover up some logos and brand names that were in there from other things, and put it on so the DVD version of Starcrackers has people wearing different shirts, and the footage doesn't match at all. But it's like, okay, that's supposed to be Curry, but it's not, or that's supposed to be Schmidt, but it's not. Yeah, so we did that before. In this one, they have to go to the door and open it. The door clearly, it was clearly obvious that Jack was, from the beginning, part of this collective thing. They were trying to get hold of the Borg. So what's behind the door really wasn't shocking because, it was too obvious. That's why it wasn't shocking. Which is fine. Okay, connected to the Borg. Does that mean Girardi Borg's going to show up at the last minute and fight other Queen of the Borg? Because that kind of should happen, because she was impending darkness of Season 2, and they've clearly connected Seasons 1 and 2 and 3 together by including the Borg in this one. Clearly they've connected them, and linked up the ships. They're also ripping off lower decks when they linked up all the ships to fight the California class. They did that. And the Syracuse is involved, which is not Cali class. It's actually Syracuse from Italy. That other one, as one of the other Galaxy class of ships, is used as the primary hull for a ship at the end. Hey. So we have, we also have Rich and Mike's Star Trek Galaxy story thrown in here too. So we have that, and not to mention lore data from Silly Trek from Strange Worlds. We have the Strange Worlds gag, where some of the old crew go to see the Enterprise D saucer. It isn't consistent with this timeline, though, because apparently in this timeline they rescued the ship earlier than they did in this one. But it was still on the planet when they went and visited it 33 years later in the other story, but 35 years later. They're still there. They didn't rescue it, but that's the Silly Trek version where they didn't rescue the saucer section. So here we have we're going to reanimate a Galaxy class ship and go and fight bad guys. That's Rich Evans and Stalaska's story. And we didn't do that in ours, but we included characters that were similar to them in it. A lore character in a Neelix playing Mike and Rich expressively, I guess. That kind of doing that right here in that story. Which is fine. So you have, at the end, the last 10 minutes or so, they do the member berries. Member berries. Yes. They do that. So watch the episode. Spoiler. This is the penultimate episode before the finale. the the frontier day is going to start. We have the boy. He decides to leave the ship after they tell him he's got Borg genetics inside him. That's biological, which kind of vaguely makes sense, but kind of vaguely doesn't. Like a Darksaber in Star Wars. It's silly, but it's all right, I guess. So you have or like a Mandalorian running around with a little baby egg thing for some reason. Don't know. It's not his kid, but anyway. But in this one you have the Borg. Going to assimilate the fleet. It's really obvious. The Enterprise F member berries. They're going to introduce a new ship. Enterprise E was apparently destroyed. Worf was in command, apparently, at some point earlier. And it apparently wasn't his fault. So they made an Enterprise F, but now it's been 20 years or so. So now the Enterprise F isn't said that it's going to be decommissioned. It was on the log thing. It's just going to launch with the fleet. And the Admiral is Admiral Elizabeth Shelby from the Best of Both Worlds. So it'll be a fight between Picard and Riker and Shelby again from Best of Both Worlds. In the end, in the next episode. So you have the Cali class thing. You have a ripoff of more or less of the ending of Lower Deck season 3 than anything, but it is also like the Cillian Realms stories, the written ones, which they've also read, apparently, and they're borrowing from In the Mirror Silly, and they're borrowing from The Perfect Plan, and a number of other short stories that were in there. One that was a long one, actually. It was one of the longer ones, and that was the one where they assimilate the past to change the future, kind of deal, similar to the First Contact, except that the joke about the Cillian version is they go to see us as in high school and then at college. That's the joke. They try to assimilate us and stop us from being the Cillians, which is even sillier and even more meta. In the animated the Go Motion action figure version of Strange Worlds after Chimera, we tried not to do so much Cillian member berries just because that doesn't make any sense to anyone else because we have to explain it. So we'd put the Cillians in the story and make them like a viable threat, and they would encounter them. Whereas, if we just showed up and either solved everything for everybody or messed it up, what's the point? So we didn't want to do that, and so in our version of I believe it was Pitch at Valerian was the name of the episode, in which they go to Viridian 2 and they find the saucer section in 2403. It's not consistent with this timeline. They left it there in Silly Trek. And they went there and they found the saucer there. Went and visited it. And they're on the bridge of that saucer section for 2 episodes. And we were cribbing that from Star Trek Galaxy, and we paid homage to Mike and Rich and in it, and had them be the Cillians that show up in the story. Even though we've never met them, and they've acknowledged our stuff, so it's okay on their show. So, but so we have this Borg thing. Okay, Jack has left the ship. We knew he was going to. But he goes to meet the Borg Queen, but it's not revealed. Is it Girardi? Because then it would be an interesting... is it going to be a twist where Girardi's the queen? Or are the 2 queens going to fight? Is that what's going to happen? Because she was the queen of the other Borg timeline that went through space in the other story. Is she the impending threat then? And what about the changelings? Making it the Bluegills would have made more sense, but they didn't do that. Weird DNA extrapolation transporter thing, technobabble, and the other idea would have made more sense. That the Bluegill, he's like a Bluegill super agent or something. But I suppose, it has to be Borg because it has to be Star Trek and it has to go with the Borg and make the Queen scarier or something. But why would Girardi go after Picard? She's like a good Borg or something. Maybe Metalis just reinvented that. I don't know. But the mystery box was obvious. but we didn't want to give it away entirely. They do visit the bridge of a certain ship, the Enterprise D. Geordi has put it back together using the star drive section from the Syracuse. Another ship, 2401. And all this takes place before Starship locations, apparently. All of this. Maybe they put the saucer section back. It could still work. Yeah. Maybe they brought it back to the planet and put it there. There, it's back on the planet. Yeah. And then it fits. Yeah. Also, Captain A-hole dies heroically. Kind of like the Captain guy in the Mandalorian episode that just happened. One guy. One other dude. Yeah. But he's died twice already, so maybe he'll come back. The old crew goes on the Enterprise D set, and LeVar Burton had mentioned the set in an interview, and he said that the ramps were a little steeper, and they kind of are a little steeper. Well, he considers that he rebuilt it a little bit, but yeah. It's more the movie era ramps, because it would have been the movie era ship. Well, they changed things a little bit. So, yeah, it was a little different, but that's fine. I mean, it works. It was close enough that it's like, okay, member berries, yay. Star Trek Next Generation, yay. I've been on the two different sets they used for, I've been to the tour, and I've been on the Star Trek Experience, where they constructed a realistic set of the Enterprise D in two different forms, and then they took one out to put in the Borg adventure later on. I've been to that. I was on that ride a bunch of times. I was on it enough that they could say that I was a staff. I wasn't staff. It was a volunteer episode one day back in the day. I wasn't on the staff. I was just looking around in there. There was also a tour that my brother and I wanted to go on, so we went on the tour and saw the behind the scenes of the two different bridges they set up, the transporter and all that. Yeah, and it's pretty much one of those bridges. They used one, dismantled it, and rebuilt it for the movie episode. It's very close, very very close. The Hudas helped. Yeah. You also get a brief shot of not only the captain's ready room, but the bathroom. That's just the corner next to the captain's ready room. That other door is the bathroom. The only bathroom on the Enterprise. But yeah, the ship's flak and stuff was a little high because of the ramp being a little higher. And of course, LaForge would notice that. But yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, the ship again. Cillian Realms has done this kind of thing before with the Enterprise A and the Enterprise D before, and targeting space dock has been a thing we've done. The Borg attacking the Earth and blowing everything up and causing them to go back in time. I hope they don't do that. The Borg doing like the being outsmarted by other Borg that are good guys. Yeah, we've done that. They might do that. The Bluegills could still show up, and the Tribbles. But yes. But no, it turns out that it was he's part Borg. He's got Borg. Jack has Borg stuff inside him, which could be silly, but is right, I guess. And I get to see the member berries at the Enterprise D. For them, it's been 20 years. What's the matter? I don't know what happened to the Enterprise E, though. That was not my fault. Anyway, so yes, they have limited weapons and no chance. They have no shields, barely any shields, but they have the Enterprise D. And it's not linked to the other ships. So they've activated control again from the Discovery, kind of. Sort of. Yeah. And Admiral Shelby is in it. She's the commander of the Enterprise F. F of failure. Yes. So yeah. And there's a silly trick member berries. And the Calcat appearance scene is during on the bridge of the Enterprise F. Yeah. So yes. But yeah. Or at least the guy that looked kind of like one of our cast. Could have been. Anyways, yeah. And there's one that looks like the bearded Calicat a little bit that shows up in later scenes. The bearded Calicat. It wasn't. Anyway, so yes. So they're, yeah. Penultimate episode, Star Trek Picard. They're gonna go back to the fleet and fight the bad guys. It doesn't seem like that makes any sense, but there it is. Okay, fine. And they're not going to kill off the heroes, so that's not going to happen. They keep threatening to, and then they don't. So, anyway, there is my review of. I don't want to give away too much, so there it is. Picard's Vox. He's not just the voice. He's the connection. Yeah, he's the voice, the Vox. Vox Solus was the name of another Star Trek episode. And this one was called Vox, yes. Was it Vox or Needs of the Many? It's Vox, I think. Yeah, Needs of the Many is the finale, I think. Yeah.